Served many years in the Army National Guard. Steve is proud of his military service, and most who know him would agree that it has largely shaped to the person he is today. In addition to his work in Asatru over the years, he has been a classroom teacher, a corrections officer, and a freelance journalist reporting from global hotspots. Currently, he is employed in a juvenile detention center where he works with troubled youth. Dear people, please give it up for Steve McNallen, all the way from California.
But a gift calls for a gift, and first I have a gift to offer as a humble sacrifice for those who have made the larger sacrifice. To Patrick Stewart and all the others who have fallen. And the Valkyries on their steeds ride forth there through some battlefield where men fall fast. Their horses fetlock deep in blood they ride and pick out the bravest warriors from death, and take with them back at night to Valhall to glad the gods and feast in Odin's hall. Steve McNallen, and I have an organization called the Asatru Folk Assembly. Asatru, for those of you who don't really follow such things too closely, is a native European belief that was practiced by our ancestors in ancient times in Central and Northern Europe. You may know it best in its Scandinavian expression during the later Viking Age, but it's really much broader than that and much older than that. It was this belief that was carried to England by the Anglo-Saxons, where it laid the deepest roots for Anglo-Saxon common law, where it prepared the way for the institutions of liberty that we know today, representative government, limitations on the rights and the powers, rather, of authority. It stood for the rights of freemen, the right to bear arms, and the rights of women. And this heritage today we celebrate in its more modern manifestations of only a couple of hundred years ago in the Declaration of Independence and in the Constitution of the United States. In 1972, the Asatru organization that I was heading at that time received official notification from the Internal Revenue Service that we were in fact a legitimate, authorized, no-kidding 501c3 tax-exempt religious organization, therefore making us real. That same year of 1972, I put on the uniform of a brand new 2nd Lieutenant Infantry, reported to Fort Benning to begin my active duty tour. Since that time, I put in a total of 14 years, both active duty and reserve component, National Guard actually, wearing Army green. And it is from these dual sets of credentials, more or less, that I come to you today with a proposition. And that proposition is simply that the symbol of our religion, the hammer of Thor, should be authorized and recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs for inclusion in the list of symbols that can go on the headstones of our fallen. Yeah. It's important to say perhaps just a little note or two about Thor and his marvelous hammer, just as a reminder of the context of this and why this is important. Thor, of all the northern deities, is the one most associated with strength, with virility, with will to action, and above all, with protection. It is Thor with his hammer that guards the realm of the gods and the realms of us humans against the outside forces that would destroy the order and the freedom and the peace that we have. Because of this very ancient association, Thor's hammer rapidly attained a reputation, an aura, if you will, of holiness, sacrality, of consecration, of protection. Thor's hammer was used to bless the libations poured to the gods and goddesses. Thor's hammer was used to bless the bride at weddings. Thor's hammer was worn around the neck of those who followed the old ways. And about 1,500 years ago, we see the habit emerging of carving representations of Thor's hammer into the massive stone monuments that guarded the graves of our fallen. 1,500 years ago. This is not a fad. This is not a new thing. This is not a recent development on the world scene. And today in California, there is a modest rural cemetery. Sits atop a knoll that is bedecked by oak trees. And beneath those trees there is another monument, not 1,500 years old, but just a few years old. And it too bears the hammer sign. And below that monument lies a Vietnam veteran, paratrooper, recondo, proud, and one of the finest human beings I ever had the honor of knowing. So what we have here is, again, a genuine tradition, 1,500 years of tradition in which the Germanic peoples and those of us who follow the spiritual path of the Germanic peoples have decorated the graves of our dead with the sign of Thor's hammer.
The hammer of Thor is not an option on the headstones of our veterans. We must make it so. The ranks of Asatru generally, and of the Asatru folk assembly in particular, contain a high percentage of veterans. Our values of honor, courage, and loyalty mesh well with military service. We are men and women who, in life, wear the hammer symbol around our necks. The hammer blesses our brides and our infants, hallows our food and our offerings to the gods. Should we not also be permitted to have it on our headstones, guarding the remains of our holy dead? The quest for the hammer continues. To learn how you can help, please contact the Asatru Folk Assembly at runestone.org.